Welcome back to the Strong After 50 podcast, episode 26. Today I'm joined by Chris Deavin. Chris is a UK-based personal trainer and online health coach. We dive into lots of different topics today. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Chris Deavin. Morning, Chris. Well, morning for me, evening for you. And
it's morning, Rod.
We've lost a bit of time, right? This is slightly more difficult for me on the other side of the world trying to get people on a podcast.
Yeah.
But we were just chatting off air about the fitness trends, and you made a couple of really good points. I was just commenting about the current trends, and that number 2 on the trend list, the ASSM trend list, is fitness for older athletes and fitness programming in particular. And I did read, when it breaks down, it goes even further about strength programs for older athletes. And a couple of nice things in there is that older athletes don't want to be called seniors anymore. And being over 50 now myself, not over 60 yet, but I can relate to that. I don't want to be referred to as a senior, and I think it's an interesting thing. We were just talking about, and I read a stat the other day about older athletes participating in the gym, and that participation's going up in that age bracket. And I think we were just saying the two things, that the demographics changing dramatically. It's the fastest growing population in the world, over 50 or over 55. And you made the point about how our lifestyles have changed so much, and we don't need to be in the gym when we were younger, or our parents weren't in the gym as much because they had more physical jobs. So, and it's so true.
Yeah, I think of my first experience of going to a gym. I didn't enter a gym until I was 25. That was 1995, and I just moved back to London from New Zealand, and I lived in South London, Battersea. I run a lot, but I didn't do much else than that. And I just thought, local leisure centre gym, not too far from where we're living, and I'll go and join up and see what it's all about. And this is someone who's played sport all his life, so gyms I didn't need a gym. I was active all the time. It was only now, living in South London, I wasn't as active. And I remember I had to do a gym induction, and this gym instructor showed me how to use a treadmill, and he got me walking at 5 Ks per hour and about a 1% incline. And that was his recommendation. As soon as he left, I just put the speed up and started running. It was quite an interesting experience. And at the time I was just playing around with equipment, no programming or anything like that. And I don't know if I stayed or not, if I got membership in the end, but 3 years later, I was working in a gym as a personal trainer and been in gyms since then. My dad came over to see me in about 2002, and he came into the local gym I was working in, and he's 78 now. So what was that? Maybe how many years ago? 25. And just turned 50, I think. So he must have been early 50s. And he'd never been in a gym. And he asked me to show him all the equipment, they did, and what's this machine for, and so forth. And my dad in New Zealand, they call it tramping. The rest of the world calls it hiking, or trekking. In New Zealand, it's tramping. And he's, since the mid-80s, he's just been going up and down steep hills with packs on his back. And he's in pretty good shape for 78, but never been in a gym. Didn't need to. He was a builder by trade, had a physical job, did a physical pastime, so no need for a gym. Where I think our generation is, we're less active when it comes to work, no physical jobs really. So we try and look for a replacement. The gyms are just natural places. And so as we get into our senior years, we don't see gyms as anything new or, not us. Because for the last 30 years, I've been in and out of gyms and working in gyms, and so from that. And I just think it's normalised now. So I think the over 50s are much more comfortable going to gyms and finding different ways of exercising. And here in the UK, for every 2 55-year-olds, there's 1 30-year-old. So we are the most populated age group. So it makes sense to me that the average age of a gym member is going up, because it's less of them and there's more of us. And I think gyms, if they're smart, will tap more into our age group now than people in their 20s and 30s. And the ones that don't change will have smaller memberships. I run my own private clinic called Reigate Over 50 and Strong, because that's the demographic I want to target. I don't want to target 20, 30-year-olds. There's not many of them, as much as the 50s, 60s and 70s. year olds. And I think I speak their language more than I can speak 20 to 30-year-old. And last time I worked in a commercial gym, I had quite senior professional people I was training at charging a good rate. And I was in a gym where, how can I say, the music was not conducive to the people I was training. It was very much a younger kind of music scene. And I think that approach to gym membership now will slowly change, and they'll be asking what does a 60-year-old want the gym to be like, then going to the 20-year-olds. And I think if the staff change as well, because if you've got people in their 20s as gym instructors, but you've got most of your clients are over the age of 50 or 60, there can be a bit of a disconnect there. So I think older trainers are going to be sought after. I think I've seen it being advertised that gyms are looking for trainers that are over 50, because that's where
it kind of makes complete sense. Just given the demographics growing so quickly, I'm just reading a statistic here. The baby boomer generation includes 73 million Americans. All of will be over age of 65 by 2030. There's a big proportion of the country. It's probably about a quarter, a little bit less than a quarter of the population in the US.
Yeah.
But and I can relate to that. I'm a member of the Fitness First network of gyms in Australia.
Okay.
And I don't train at them that regularly at the moment, because I also have, in the building that I live in, we have a gym downstairs. And it's got a building gym. It's got a fairly extensive range of equipment. We have multiple treadmills, a few bikes, a few ellipticals, lots of dumbbells. We have a Smith machine, a cable machine, and a few other machines. So I can literally these days do a full workout in there. But the gym that if I do want to pop into Fitness First for a little bit more inspiration every now and then, a bit more space. When I was training for High Rocks, I had to use it. I need a sled track. The music is always that loud, and every time I walk in, I have this big cringe to myself. And often I've actually walked in and it's that loud, and they're playing some sort of, just not my style of music. It's just the way it's being played. And I'm just I always wonder the same thing. Is everyone thinking what I'm thinking, or is it just my age bracket now? But I look around, there's other older people in the gym, and I'm thinking, are they feeling the same way as me? Do you really want to be walking into a gym? And I don't know, maybe I'm completely off here, but isn't there a level of music we can play that's more suitable to everybody? I'm just not sure, but it is hard.
Yeah,
meeting everyone's expectation.
Yeah, I agree. But I think you've got to look at the main demographic and go, okay, what they really want more than, because I think the staff in the fitness industry is young, and the membership's getting older. So it's who do you accommodate for is really.
Yeah.
I remember once I was running a workshop for a company here in the UK on gym retention, how gym staff could communicate better with members and stuff like that. And the gym was in an old cinema, so the wall where the cinema screen would be was just full of TV screens on different things, what was going on. But the main screen, which was the biggest screen, had this music video on. And I got the gym staff who I was taking through the course to come out to look. I said, look at the membership, the gym members right now. And it was predominantly middle-aged women who are overweight, and they're on the cross trainer, elliptical, on the treadmill walking. And on this big screen in front of them was this video of these three girls in bikinis washing a car and sliding over the car in certain positions. And looking at the ladies in the gym, they were doing everything they could not to look at the screen.
Yeah.
And I said to the gym staff, do you think that's what your membership right now is wanting to see? And it just little microcosm of maybe look at who you've got in the gym and adjust accordingly. That was quite an interesting engagement.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see how we shift, with the population changing. And even I've read a lot about, in Australia at the moment, the number one or number two trend is fitness programming, and specifically leading towards weight training for older athletes. And there's a lot of talk, if you do some research on it, it's been lost. I mean, look, we don't have to look at social media, and it's all targeted towards, people looking perfect all the time. But as you said, I mean, it's the demographic that's actually the fastest growing. We're getting, in some cases, not for me at the moment, we're getting more time back. And often now you've got more resources to actually be able to afford some of these the classes and the personal trainers and so forth. But we still don't tend to be shifting. And it'll be interesting to see if we do see this range of, and I think the studios are a great thing. I've mentioned this before. A friend of mine's actually started a little studio and doing extremely well, predominantly just taking over 50-year-old women. She's a lady herself, has a few guys as well. Does still have some younger people come in because of the local area, and obviously they're probably less intimidated going to a little boutique studio, one on, as opposed to a lot of people still, if you and I have been around gyms forever, I can walk into any gym and just go off and train. I just don't care. But a lot of people, they do find it intimidating. So it's going to be really interesting to see how those gyms shift. And I think you're right. Some of these bigger franchises will need to make that shift because that is the demographic that's going to have the money and have the power in the industry.
Yeah, and if you want a strong membership base, you got to accommodate for that. I kind of pride myself on when people come and see my clinic, straight away they feel it's not a gym. I don't actually use the word gym in any of my marketing, even though my clients say they call it a gym, and I say no. It's a health clinic, because that when you say the word gym, what people straight away think, and it's not what people experience when they come into my place. I always say it's a playground. We just got all these toys and we'll find the best way to play. And
sure,
instead of them feeling that that they're going to come in and be watched and judged and stuff like that. And I know your interest is in older athletes, but what I'm finding is a lot of people who are looking towards staying fit and strong as they age, because people are realizing, actually, where my grandparents' generation just thought, well, I'll probably be dead not long after I retire. Now people's going, I've got the potential to actually live quite many years, but how do I live a life that I'm enjoying that requires me to be fitter and stronger than I am currently, or stay fit and strong as I age? There's do you know Dr. Rhonda Patrick? She does the podcast Found My Fitness. And a few weeks ago I was listening to one of her podcasts, and she was using this term called peak span, which is in relation to health span or lifespan. It was a peak span is how long do you stay at your peak? At least 90% of your peak. And so it got me thinking about, okay, peak span is, not really that usable. So what about performance span? How long can you keep performing for? How long can you stay capable for as you age? And therefore, what sort of training, nutrition, recovery protocols do you need to do so you can keep performing as you age? So I'm now using the term performance span to work alongside health span and lifespan, and meeting people where they're at. So I had a client come back to me after 20 years. She came to me at 54, trained with me for a couple of years, and now she's back at 74.
Wow.
Because she remembers what we did back 20 years ago, and she's losing that, and she wants to keep that. So we've got back into training. But with her, I've got a structure in my head, but I'm letting her learn at her pace what she feels comfortable in doing, mainly because her memory's not as good as it was, and she can't remember so much. So we'll go through like 3 exercises, and she'll say to me, Chris, that's all I can learn today. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Let's just work with that. Let's get efficient at doing these, and then we'll add some more when you're ready, and so from there. So I think with the older clients, I think there is an element of not going in with too much structure. Sure, you want to point them in a certain direction, but the pace of the programming or the training is slower than you would have if they're in their 40s, and they can handle more and do more at one time. So there is that element of making people feel that they're always capable, and they're still learning and able to take on new stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I found that a very interesting thing that I didn't really think of before with that.
It's an interesting point you make. And around your own training with some of these athletes or some of these clients, you talk about structure. Do they typically train on would you build them a 6-week program, for argument's sake, and they train on that sort of program, or are you doing something different with them every session? Let's say you've got a client's coming twice a week and they're fairly efficient. They actually know the way around a gym and know the way around training. Are you building some sort of program that they're actually, so you're seeing some sort of progress for them? I think because human nature, we all want to see progress, right?
Yes.
And I made this comment the other day in Substack, and I got a little bit of pushback from a few people about there's a lot of people out there, even as we age, doing maintenance type sessions. If you continue to do a maintenance type session at 50, you're going backwards. My view is,
Yeah.
you've got to be progressing. Even if I know with myself, obviously my strength is, tapered off over the years, my speed's tapered off, everything else. But if I'm not trying to still continue to improve at my age, I'm actually going backwards at a faster rate. So maintenance is okay for a little while, but I think we also should be in some sort of progressive programming.
Yes, and I totally agree with that. And I don't believe in maintenance either, unless there's a reason for it. Like you've trained for something, you've got to that date, you've competed in that event, and now let's go into a bit of maintenance until we got something else that we can go for. But for my general clients who are not athletes, I always encourage them to do something every day that's physically challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So from one client is, how many push-ups can you do in a minute? Just go hell out for leather. How many push-ups you can do in a minute? And over the next 28 days, let's see if we can improve on that. And they can see improvement. Oh, I can do so many more push-ups to do. Now, how much structure is that? It's hardly any. But it's challenged them, it's made them progress, and so from that. So I think, and I have another client, so I have what I call workout the week, workout the day, that is kind of just general workouts. So someone will have a structured strength program. So I got this gentleman in Kansas who is one of the few clients I get who's 100%er. He does exactly what I recommend he does, to the letter, and everyone who's in business would like 100 of those people.
Yeah.
you just wind them up and let them go, and they get on with it. It's like there's no having to bully them or pressure, push them to do it. They come back, go, yep, done that. What now? It's like a dog retrieving the ball. They come back, go, wait, got the ball now. And they're the ones that I can use my science degree on, and all my periodization programs and stuff like that. They're wonderful. And he would do his strength training, and we record his workouts. We record the progression. We have targets. But then there's every day he does a metabolic workout, which is different every day. So it's your body weight workout on my workout of the day, or a workout of the week, which is more equipment based. And those workouts kind of cycle. So they'll workout will come back around in a few weeks' time, and he'll try it again and things like that. But there's parts in that workout he just finds so challenging. It's just too hard for him.
Sure.
So those people is a mixture of structure. Here's your structured program. This is what we're going to work on for the next 6 weeks. But also here's some workouts I'm going to throw in, which is just going to, make you work hard. Where other clients, it's trying to find a balance. We've talked about this before on past podcasts, Rod. My whole coaching approach is all about consistency.
Yeah.
So if someone can be consistent, they're going to get more results than people who will train for a period of time, very structured, very disciplined, but occasionally. They can't sustain it all year round, where I always emphasizing people to be just as consistent as possible. And some people are consistent through structure and detail, and some people are more consistent when it's just, what can you do today? What can you do today? What can you do today to challenge yourself through strength, through cardiovascular, through flexibility, through balance, stability, whatever it is that will challenge you. I want you to stay in the game. I don't want you to tap out. So what we did last week, you might not be able to do this week. But long as you can say at the end of a workout, that challenged me, then we're going to get progress. You're not going to get maintenance. It's sometimes when you get too structured program, that can be maintenance, because people are maybe holding themselves back because I'm just doing what the program says. And at the end they go, yeah, that was right. I did that. Where sometimes it's better to go, wow, that was really tough. Sometimes that's all you need.
I'm with you on the consistency, though. I think that just, and I write about it all the time. I just come back to that one fundamental, and I go back to my own training days. The guys that did the best, even though in the case, the guys that I ended up coaching for a long time, they were the best athletes, but they also just trained the most consistent over the longest period of time. All these other athletes that would come and go, good athletes as well, but just couldn't be consistent for a long period of time. They would just go through these waves. And I would say that to everybody. You could go to the gym and basically do anything. It could be 3 exercises, wouldn't matter what it was, and train for 15 minutes. But if you did it every day for the next 5 years, you'd get much better result than another person that's going in these 6-week crazy blocks and then disappearing. Yes. And also do agree with your comment about these maintenance periods after my last high rocks. It was such an intense training block. For me, I was still training like I was 30, basically. Some days, multiple sessions per day, trying to fit my run in and my strength in. And after that, I just purely went into maintenance mode. I literally just trained to feel. I had no structure. I just went to the gym and did what I wanted to do. And I did that for, 4 or 6 weeks just to let my body recover and mentally recover as well, because I was in such a focused period, and that took a lot out of me. But
I think as we get older as well, there is more value to listen to what our body's telling us than when we're younger. I wear a Whoop band, and I have probably for 5 years now. I'm someone who's got a strength conditioning degree. I've been a member of the UK Strength Conditioning Association. I know periodization programs. I've done it all. But since wearing my Whoop, I've been more liberated from my training programming. I always say to people, I don't have a written program. I just don't. Mainly because when I wake up in the morning, my Whoop band will tell me what my recovery score is. That will determine my training for that day, how hard I'm going to push myself, what exercise I'm going to do, and so from that. And have got better results than I have in the past when I've had a structured program. Because
interesting.
Where before I'd go, right, Monday's my program, this is what I'm doing on Monday, this is what I'm doing Tuesday. And regardless of how my body felt or what my body was telling me, that's what I did. Because that's what the program told me. The program I put together for myself.
Yeah.
And then I got Whoop, and I was like, I've got a really hard training day today, but I'm 41% recovered. So I can go and push myself, but is that really going to be a benefit to me? Because my body's at 41% recovery. I'd benefit more from a very low training day. And when I get up to 90%, then I hit. But I don't know when that 90% recovery day is going to be, So I'm experienced enough to know what to do every day. And I love training enough not to worry about too much structure. So I woke up today and I had 83% recovery. So I did around a 30-minute strength training session. Major, big exercises, blah, blah, blah. Now, tomorrow, if I wake up and I'm 41%, that's only going to be about 10 or 12-minute workout. I'll still do it. I'll still do some strength training, but it's going to be a lot shorter in its duration, a lot lower in its intensity. And that's where the consistency comes into it. I lift something every day, but how much I lift and how hard I push myself is determined by how recovered I am on that day. Now, that doesn't always work out, because when I do my long training runs, I might wake up and go, right, like 2 Fridays ago, I did a 12-hour training run, 50 miles. I think I woke up with 44% recovery for whatever reason. I could have said, I can't do my 12-hour run, only 44%. I've got to wait for a 90% day. And then the 90% day comes on a Tuesday, which I can't do because I'm working, or that. So I'm not saying you stick religiously to it, but because I'm going to always consistently train, I don't mind some days where I low intensity, low training, because I know I'm going to train again tomorrow and the next day.
Yeah.
So I think as we get older, the more we listen to our body, allow it to push itself when it's ready to push itself, and to recover when it needs to recover. I think you mentioned earlier about these trends. The top trend was wearables, wasn't it?
Wearables.
Yeah, wearables. So I think wearables are becoming a lot more useful. I actually have clients who wear Whoop. They give me their login details so I can look into their account and see, and I can give them daily recommendations or weekly reviews on how their training's going, how, I get some clients who've just had a number of days of poor recovery and I go, right, this week, no training. Do stretching, mobility, foam rolling and all that stuff, go for walks. But until we see a bit more of an upward trend in your recovery, there's no point you going out and pushing yourself, because you're not going to benefit from it. All you're doing is overstressing the body, too much strain. And therefore we use that data to our advantage. And I think that's going to be a lot more usable in the future for older athletes.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, I don't use the data on my watch. I definitely use my watch from a running point of view, because I hadn't run as a distance for a very long time when I was training for high rocks. I need to get some specific training in around some longer runs, certain paces, and then I did a lot of interval running, 800 meter work. I would also, and I do agree with it, and I think they're just getting better and better, but also some days I would say that I could get up, look at the data on my watch, and I have actually seen the recovery aspect, but there was no doubt I had a very structured training program. So a lot of those, as you were saying, structured days, I would still train. I definitely don't do as much of that in my own regular training now, but when I was training for high rocks. However, there is some days when I think, and it's a little bit like, your sleep data, you might have a really crappy night's sleep, but you can still get up some days and still feel quite refreshed. And I think you can take it in some situations a little bit too literally, like if you're really going by the book all the time. I know I can't train today, but there's definitely days when I get up and I'm like, oh God, I've only had 6 hours sleep. It's not quite enough sleep. I know I need 7+ hours, but I still feel really good.
Yeah.
But I think the data is getting better and better.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. There's an element of when I look at my data in the morning, I set myself a minimum amount of training. If I start training, I'm going to do another round of exercises because I'm feeling okay. So it's kind of a minimum target that I'll hit instead of saying, oh, this is the training I need to do today. So no matter how I feel, I've got to push through it. If you're somebody who's, the life is that you've only got certain days in the week to train, then fine. It doesn't matter. There's some degree of what your body's telling you. That's the only day you can train, you train. I've got the luxury of having my own training facility and I train every day anyway. So I don't mind having a light day because I know tomorrow I'm going to train again. Where if you know you're not going to train for another week and you've got a low recovery and this is the only day you get to train, then train hard. Sometimes just ignore that and just do it. So there is that element to it. But as people getting older and having more of the free time to do stuff, I think they can be a bit more relaxed when it comes to what they should be doing every day. But that's counts. If someone comes to me as an athlete, like I've got a 24-hour, 100-mile ultra in 8 weeks' time, I'm going to have to do the training, regardless of what my Whoop's telling me. I've only got this amount of time left. So for me, there is structure to that. So I've got certain long runs I need to do in the next 7.5 weeks that just have to be done. There's no way around it. But for the general public who's just trying to stay fit, strong and healthy, and getting them to do something every day and challenge themselves in some way every day, then people can do that without too much.
And I would agree with that. And that would be, to me, like optimizing your health as opposed to optimizing your fitness for a specific task.
Correct.
And I think that's definitely... I think that's 100% the way we're going. You'll get really good feedback. But the other point I was going to make is that, that you have those days where you have copious amounts of sleep. You've just crashed out the night before and you've had, 8 or 9 hours sleep.
Yeah.
And you get up and you feel horrible.
Yeah.
You limp out of bed in the morning. You feel so drowsy. It takes you 2 hours to get going. But I have a structured training week. I've actually just compressed my training a little bit more and to have more rest periods. I like to run at the moment because I don't have any running event, but I'm trying to get back into running. I would like to do some longer runs. I'll never get to a 50-mile run, Chris, or a 100-mile run.
Well, if you have that attitude, Rod, you're right, you won't.
No, but I do. Well, I don't have the time commitment at the moment. It's just to go out for a 12-hour run. Like I'd have to stretch that over 2 or 3 weeks. But I do, unfortunately, I'm just predisposed to overuse tendon injuries. And I've got another one at the moment. I've always had Achilles problems and I'm doing a fairly good job of rehabbing. It's nearly back, but I just got to be so careful as soon as I ramp up a little bit. And it seems like I do have a bit of a limit with my tendons with longer stuff.
Okay.
But everything else, I'm definitely a better dynamic athlete.
Yeah. You need to get yourself a strength and conditioning coach.
Yes, I do.
I've got a client.
It was interesting.
In America, actually, in California, who's had Achilles problems. And we've got her back to running the trails. We've just, it's been a bit of a long journey, but she's got back to running the trails. So she feels more capable now. She feels less limited, which is quite powerful. I think she's 66, if I remember. That being able to do that again in her life is quite empowering. So, Achilles can be a bugger. Can be a real bugger.
Yeah, they're very, very slow. I suffered a lot with them sprinting, which are very common. Probably every guy in my running squad had an Achilles problem at some point in time. And a lot of the guys, once they got over them, they could really manage them. Mine were fairly consistent. Interesting enough, I went and saw my physio, who is an ultra runner as well, a really good young guy. And we were just chatting and I showed him what I'd been doing to rehab my Achilles and he 100% agreed. He said it's the perfect program. He just wanted me to load more. I just wasn't loading quite enough. He said your
Right.
load is actually not enough.
Right.
And particularly around the strength loading, he said you need to, every time you get to 8 or 10 reps, you need to increase the weight. Just keep going. He said you only should be pulling that back to 6 reps with the new load, get up to sort of 8, 10 again, and then use enough weight to get back to 6. And it's interesting, the tendons just need consistent load to stay strong.
Yeah. I know we haven't got much time left, but can I just hit on something that I've discovered as a senior athlete running long distances that has quite, the saying game changer is sometimes overused. You've probably done this. I did this back in the early 2000s, creatine. And the research now into creatine for older athletes is quite substantial now. In the last 5 years, there's been a lot more research into it. So at the beginning of February, I decided to go back onto creatine. And I just said, I'll give it 28 days, see how I feel. Just let's see. And my recovery now after doing my long runs, it would be, if I did a long run on a Saturday, like 10 hours, it would take to about Wednesday for me to feel like I could go out and do a proper run again, just to recover. 48 hours now, I feel fully recovered. And I can go out, I feel like I can go for another long run. And that's kind of been...
That's amazing.
Wow. Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm not walking up the stairs or walking down the stairs gingerly for 2 or 3 days with sore muscles. It was like going up and down the stairs quite comfortably, less than 48 hours afterwards. And all the research would back that up. And and before people say, well, maybe there's other things that you've changed as well, but my nutrition's always the same. I always have the same breakfast, basically the same lunch. My dinners are all like 5 or 6 that we rotate throughout the week. So my nutrition didn't change. My sleep data stayed the same. So it wasn't that I was recovering better. I'm sleeping better. The only thing that I changed in the 28-day period was I was taking 15 to 20 grams a day of creatine.
Oh, so you're dosing pretty high then. 20 grams is pretty high.
Yeah, and then I've dropped back down to 10. And then after a long run, I go 15 for a few days, 2 or 3 days. And by doing
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, by doing that, I'm finding in 48 hours, it doesn't feel like I've just done 10, 12-hour runs up and down hills.
Well, that's amazing. I was going to say, I wonder if your creatine sort of levels were low beforehand. I don't know if you'd had them tested before, because obviously everyone produces creatine.
But I do eat a lot of meat. I do eat a lot of meat. Yeah,
so you would think it's not low. Yeah.
Yeah. From a nutritional point of view, I think I'm getting enough creatine in. I just had Monday night, I just had a steak. I have steak a couple of times a week, a lot of red meat. My lunch is always protein and fat. There's no carbs at lunch. Always meat, eggs, and so forth. So I think I was getting enough from my nutrition. It's just adding that in, dosing high. I'm a bit like, let's bring it on. This is good.
Yeah,
I'm 56,
it's amazing.
And I've been doing this sort of training for the last 5-6 years. And to get to 56 and feel like I'm in the best shape for doing long distance running than I have been in for the last 5 or 6 years is quite liberating in the sense mentally, because even though I love doing it, there is an element that goes, I know by doing this 12-hour day, I'm going to, for the next 4 or 5 days, it's going to be a bit jaded, a bit fatigued, a bit just sore. And now it's like after 48 hours, it's like, this is pretty good.
That's amazing.
Right. I just thought I'd share that as
I've been a creatine user. Yeah, because I definitely would. I mean, in my perfect world, if I can get back to, if I could run a half marathon, I'd be definitely chuffed. If I can get back to running 10Ks a few times a week, I just like these mornings at the moment in Sydney, we're about 12 or 13 degrees. The sun's just coming up now. To go out for a run at 5:30 in the morning and just enjoy the city when no one's around. I just absolutely love it.
I agree.
Creatine's an interesting one. I've been a believer forever. I first took creatine in 1985.
1985?
When 85.
Wow.
We've been creatine users for a very long time. I was 15 or 16. I used to live in a supplement store. I used to take all sorts of stuff, but creatine was in my gym that I trained when I was younger, back in the 80s. So it's been good to see that it's actually got the research, and it's the track athletes that I ran with, myself, and one of the other guys, the Olympic athlete that I coached, we were always creatine takers. And it was interesting when new people came in the squad and we would talk about creatine and they never heard of it. And this is going back 15 years. So he's 15 years, 2008 Olympics, I think he went to. I don't know that I ever got the big, I definitely used to feel the benefit of creatine. Him and I both swore by it. For my strength training, it was just amazing. But it was interesting when other people had never taken creatine, the bump they used to get from it when they were non-takers of it. So I do wonder how much of a plateau. But what I haven't tried, which I'm really interested in what you said, I've never dosed up to 20 milligrams ever. I've gone up to 10. My gut doesn't love too much creatine, I have to say. Now, when you're saying you're using 20 milligrams, how are you doing it in multiple times per day or 20 milligrams in one dose?
So what I'm on at the moment is I take 10 in the morning with my shake, and then at night, and this is a personal thing, I think one of the greatest tastes in the world in life is cold milk. It's just cold milk is phenomenal taste. Where the other extreme is warm milk is just disgusting. But for some reason, I just love cold milk. So I just put 5 grams into some milk, stir it up, and have it probably about 9 o'clock at night. I'm about to have it.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
And I've just found I use Crea Pure. So I think what I've been hearing is a lot of the GI problem is through creatine that's contaminated. So there's only one factory in the world in Germany that does pure creatine. Either Crea Pure or Crea Serve, that's their trademark. They patent it. And if you get creatine from that source, what I've been hearing, reports-wise anyway, that people on that don't have any GI problems. And I haven't had any GI problems.
Yeah, mine's, I have to say, I don't get them unless I higher dose. And I would just a quick shout out to anyone that wants to, if they're using creatine and you don't love the taste in water. The one thing I used to do when I was younger was use it. I used to always have in grapefruit juice. I found that was the best thing to have it in. You get a little bit of the carbohydrate as well.
Correct. It gets into the muscles quicker and stuff like that. I think with a lot of the latest research, though, is a lot of people are starting to use it for cognitive health. And that's where high dosage comes into it, because you saturate the muscle, the muscle doesn't take it, and then the rest, what's left over is the brain will start using it. And the cognitive energy, I don't really get any slumps anyway in energy, but I just, maybe it's placebo, but hey, placebo, if it works, it works. I just feel
100%.
I just feel more energy. So for me, it's, and you might I might get to a point where it plateaus out. I just hope not for the next 7 weeks.
Oh, yes. Not likely, by the way.
Yeah. But as long as my gut can take it, I'll keep taking 15 a day. I feel good on it. I know I've had one client who has taken it and she takes it in the morning and she is wired when she goes to bed and can't get to sleep.
Wow. So, that's interesting. And it shouldn't do that. I've never heard of it, actually. I've never heard of that.
I think it might be the type of creatine she's taking. I need to look into that. But some people just, it just doesn't respond too well on it. Where me, I'm no problems. All I'm getting at the moment is benefits. So I'll keep doing the dosage that works for me. But everyone's different. And they got to find the right dosage. My partner, I got her on it, but I don't think she needs such a high dosage. So she's going to go back down to 5 and see how that feels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm doing a lot of heavy training, so maybe when I come off the heavy training, I won't need so much. But at the moment, that's what I'm going to do. it's working for me. So,
Chris, I need to leave it there because I need to go and fire my day up. I need to get some more caffeine and some creatine into me.
I need to get going.
But that's yes. That's good information. We will catch up before you obviously do your runs, but good luck with your training over the next few weeks. And it'd be good to do a podcast post your run as well, just do a bit of a breakdown on how you felt and how you led up to that.
That means I've got to achieve my goal then.
That's your own goal, Chris. We'll just talk about post-run.
Yeah. When I'm struggling at 21 hours, I've got to keep going because I've got that podcast to do. Yes, well, exactly.
Excellent. Good to chat as always.
Thanks,
stay on the line for a sec just whilst things wind up, but otherwise we will be on in another few weeks.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, Rob.